I was born in the ancient hills of eastern Tennessee, a place where the trees almost touch the sky. It's a land so old that the rivers have carved out deep, forbidden hollows. Some of these dark places were abandoned long before the over-mountain Cherokee ever hunted this land, and they really should have been left alone. You might call it a superstition, our deep-seated fear of these woods. Or maybe you'd link it to a simple, primal fear of the unknown. But you can't deny that there are strange things we remember that make us a little frightened of the irrational, can you? Have you ever been driving down a lonely highway late at night and caught a glimpse of something that wasn't a deer crossing the road? Isn't there something from your childhood memories that you tell yourself wasn't real, but you're not entirely sure? We remember those things here too. Whether we're deep in the forest after dark, or in one of those hidden coves where the TVA lakes reach into the hills, we simply can't afford to push them so deep into our minds. I recall having an imaginary friend when I was maybe 3 years old. I don't think I ever gave him a name, but I remember him as being more like a huge dog than a person. Very pale and very cold. My mom said I would go out to play with him just at the edge of the trees, and she told me I had to stop when she noticed I wasn't alone. I'm sure that much happened, but I'm not so sure about the teeth or the claws I remember now. In retrospect, I could have invented those, and I could have invented the smell of dirt and decay, and how he asked me that last evening to go with him to play deeper in the woods, just before my mother called me back home. 10 years later, when I was in middle school, I was friends with a girl and a boy named Jessica and Danny. We often played at Walter Lake, which had a public beach before it was closed due to industrial runoff. We weren't supposed to go past the beach, but one day, Danny and Jessica snuck off. I followed them into the woods for about 20 feet before I got scared and turned back. I'm glad I was the chicken that day. Turns out, they found a place to play in a cove where the water dropped suddenly into a valley that used to be called Johnson's Woods before the TVA flooded it. Danny got out there and drowned. Of course, everyone said he just couldn't swim. No one challenged it, because no one wanted to admit that it might be something other than a simple case of a teenage boy drowning. The problem is Danny could swim like a fish. They never found his body, and Jessica would never talk about it. In fact, she wouldn't talk at all for weeks, and was never the same again. Jessica could never move on, no matter how hard. I know she tried. She grew up tall and sickly, probably never more than 90 pounds, and never healthier than someone with a 2-week flu. They call it survivor's guilt. Her eyes were sunken and hollow, and her hair was thinner than it should have been. The girls picked on her, and the boys never spoke to her. I was the closest thing to a friend she had, and to be honest, I was kind of scared of her. Not because I believed she was dangerous, but because I knew there was something deeply wrong about her that I didn't want to get myself involved in. Near the end, she gave me a notebook that she had used to draw in ever since her brother's death. I took one look at it and burned the thing. 2 days later, the police found her under a tree outside her house, screaming at the top of her lungs while her house burned to ashes. I can never forget what I saw in that notebook. Nothing can erase all of that from her mind, and nothing can make me believe that a 90-pound girl could kill two adults without ever having a murder weapon. Maybe I could erase it all from my mind. Maybe I could accept the story everyone else tells themselves if it weren't for one thing that won't leave my mind. It cuts in there like a sharp rock, sticking and slicing away until I can't deal with it anymore. They found her under a tree. Her family didn't have a tree.